Igbo amaka, Igbo atoka, mpụta ụwa ọzọ, biko Chukwu mee m onye Igbo. Let me ask you, what comes to your mind when you hear the word Igbo? Or when someone tells you, Abụ m onye Igbo? Well, I'll tell what I see and what I think. I see resilience, I see independence, and I see brilliance. I see beautiful people. I see very hardworking people who have risen like phoenix against all odds to become captains of various industries, to become heads in different areas and niches of life. I see people who through Onyaya and Nwanneya have built empires across the world. I see people who through Akureono have built and developed their various communities. I see people with high moral standards. I see victors. Unfortunately, the beautiful culture of these beautiful people is almost going into extinction. Our beautiful language is almost being forgotten, and the effort of our ancestors almost being in vain. However, there are illustrious sons and daughters who are working tirelessly day and night into ensuring that the elements of the Igbo culture remain intact, that the stories of our great ancestors are passed down to generations yet unborn, and my children and your children will walk the streets of the world wherever they are with their shoulders held high, knowing that they share the same bloodline with great men and women such as Chinua Achebe, the great author that we all know about, Michael Okpala, also known as Power Mike, the strongest man that has walked the face of this earth. Mike Ejaya, the great folklorist whose song transcend every generation. My father listened to his songs, I listened to his songs, and my children will definitely listen to his songs because they are full of wisdom and high moral lessons. And the very brilliant politician, Mazi Ojike Mbonu. These are all sons and daughters of Igbo origin. Ndi Igbo GMONO. The stories and their stories shall not be forgotten and should not be forgotten. Now, allow me to introduce you to the repository of Igbo culture and heritage right here in the beautiful city of Enugu, Nigeria. Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Chivera here, as always and as usual. Today I am at Center for Memories right here in the beautiful city of Enugu. This is a place where Igbo cultural heritage and artifacts are documented for the current generations and generations yet unborn. So if you want to learn a thing or more about the Ndi Igbo, our culture, our roots, our traditions, our stories and our histories, and a lot of things our great ancestors did, do not click away from this video. Remember to subscribe to my channel, like this video, share with your friends and your family, and meet me inside so we'll take a tour of this repository. Come on. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. A huge pleasure to meet you and talk about the wonderful work you're doing.
Thank you very much. It's also a pleasure, guys. So, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, my name is Ikenga Ndi. I am the executive director at the center, and I also contribute to the development of the work, the mandate that the center has in researching, documenting, and archiving, and most importantly, telling the stories of Ndi Igbo.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm really impressed with what I've seen so far, although I do not understand a lot of things, but I'm really impressed with what is going on here. So basically, can you tell us what this center stands for, what it is for, like what they do, what goes on in here, to anybody who is interested in coming here?
Historically, our forebears ended oral tradition, and in that process, we lost a lot of things, and we couldn't do things, to hand over to the next generation. Okay. So the center stands at the bridge, to connect the present
and
the past, and then the future. And that is why our slogan is Makonya, Tata, Nechi. Okay. So we want to be able to hand over to the next generation a whole lot of things, to build their awareness of who they are, their identity. Yeah, and so our signature program is Nkatu Mibe. It's one of our best-selling programs. We've had 22 editions, and the essence of the program is to mainstream thought leadership. Okay. So we bring in Igbo people who are, who have made their mark in different spheres of life, and then they come down to Enugu and then contribute to a thought pattern for Ndi Igbo contribute their own quota in terms of, sharing their experiences and how those experiences can aid Ndi Igbo, to get to the next level. That's one cartoon maybe. And then we have the one for children known as Nzoko Maka. So that one is there every last Saturday of the month. So we have children come to the center, and then we teach them Igbo proverbs, riddles, storytelling, some like Tales by the Moonlight, so they can converse in their own language, Asokwane Igbo,
of course,
learn the language, because many of them, Igbo Amaka, many of them, may not have had the opportunity, to interact with the language, their mother language, so that's for that. And furthermore, to add to what we do with the children, we have the book club. So the book club, every month we have children, it's a hybrid event, so online and virtual, so we choose a book, so people will come, bring their children, and then we look at the book. And at the end of the day, there will be questions and answers. So we have a prize for the child who, who answered most of the questions.
Right. I want to, sorry to cut you. The books they read, are they necessarily Igbo text, or books written by Igbo people, or just any book?
We are adding that for now. We want to foster the love of reading, so they can just read any literature that children can read. And but we're stepping on that because we intend to publish our own books, the Kedu book series. So we're already writing them. We have completed about 13 works. So we intend to publish and have them virtually. So people can have access to them anytime that they want, right? Because the gap that we have is that we do not really have books that delve into our history, culture, meant for children between the ages that we are working with. So we really want to bridge that gap. Yeah, the exhibitions that we have here. So this is our 5th exhibition. We called it More. It's a solo exhibition by an artist called Chuma Anabado. Right. By the way, More means spirit of the dead. It's a combination of two words, More and On, spirit of the dead. So you could say our own version of the Halloween. So it was revealing for a lot of persons, and
of course,
we got to learn.
I'm happy to learn from you right now.
So we got to learn that the masquerade plays at least 3 major roles in Igbo cosmology.
Really?
Yeah, the one.
Are you aware of that? Okay, let's
one is the entertainment part. We always have cultural events, festivals within our communities, and there's one common feature that you always see: the masquerade coming out to entertain. You could see for the tallest masquerade in our culture, the Zaga. You could see it in major cultural festivals. The Zaga could come out. The fascinating thing about it is that the Zaga walks on sticks, very tall sticks. And I do still wonder how the Zaga is able to, maintain balance. It's a very fascinating thing. It's entertaining for me. Yes. And coming to entertainment again, you look at some of the instruments, that are original to us. Right? So this is the Ngelenge. And we have this before the white men created the xylophone. This is an adaptation of the xylophone. Right? So these are some of the equipment used in the Igbo spirituality when it comes to masquerades. I will do injustice if I don't talk about the Ijele.
The biggest.
It's the largest masquerade. Wow. It can't even come inside the center. When we were having this exhibition, we wanted to bring in the jelly. Well, because the jelly is so huge, it can't even come into this place. And one of the finest things about the jelly is the attention to details, the crafting. It's a significant thing amongst our masquerade. Look at the patterns. There are 2 major features when it comes to masquerade: the head of the masquerade and the waistband that we call awolo. Talking about spirituality, there are other masquerades that perform the spiritual role in the Igbo cosmology. For the Igbos, spirituality is a very big deal, and it's something that starts from within. Before it moves on to the family, to the community. And that's why Chigi means your own personal God. So spirituality starts from within for Ndi Igbo. And when you look at a masquerade like Obuni Ikenga, you can see that this Obuni Ikenga is the one that represents the spirituality of the community. So the Obuni Ikenga is very acrobatic, but when it moves, you could see the strength of movement. It shows that it is no longer one person, that it is, everybody in the community. When we are doing the communal stuff, right? this masquerade represents that particular aspect. And there are so many other masquerades that help play roles in the Igbo spirituality.
Okay.
And when we're talking about spirituality, we mentioned Ogene in the other time.
Yes.
Then if you take a look at this, you can see this is the Oja.
Yes.
This is the sound of the gods.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're not spiritual, you may not, you may not know the wordings, because each time the Oja plays, there is a word attached to it, a message.
Wow.
Yeah, so the same way your prophet speaks in tongues and then you receive it, that is the way.
Right
the
now,
person who plays the Oja is a prophet.
Really? I'm having goosebumps just listening to this. Okay, interesting.
So
interesting.
it's a very important, the same as the bar. If you look at the bar,
Okay.
You don't just play the bar. There's a word attached to the bar. So for the people who are spiritual,
Really?
when you play the drum, they have a response, and it determines the way they dance. You don't just come and dance like when the bar plays.
Yes.
You know when to shout. The same thing the does. Yeah. So it's a beautiful thing that we have as Igbos, and many of us do not realize it. I mentioned that when you want to know which masquerade is playing, all you need to know is to look at the head, and then look at the waistband. So for this is their wallow. So it's the waistband of any masquerade. So if you take a look at all the masquerades that we're displaying, you could see that the heads are not the same. Neither are the waistbands. So this is just to exemplify that. And then we move on to the Akunechenyi. Akunechenyi is a man's masquerade. So it tends a bit to the spiritual. So if Anetolu Fetolu,
Of course.
right,
Of course.
so the Akunechenyi, they have, if you have seen the Akunechenyi play, you could see their tall drums. Mostly they wear white. You could see men. When we're talking about men, you could see men. They're not like boys.
Not boys.
And so it's a spiritual thing.
Okay.
So if you've not got to that stage, you will never, ever be allowed to play in this. So there are many other masquerades that could play another spiritual role. So we come to the third role played by the masquerade, is the enforcement role. And no other masquerade can do it better than the Igbo. Yeah, I think the Nsukka people call it Orioba. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's a lot of Oba, So, but the thing is that if there is anything that needs to be enforced, you can always count on this particular masquerade, to exercise that role of, enforcement, ensuring compliance.
Okay.
Yeah, for instance.
So one can say that this Igbo masquerade is like the disciplinarian.
Look at the hands.
Of course, it's already carrying things and all of that.
You see knife. So if there are sanitations to be done in the community, they are the ones that will come out. If there's some age grades that needs to do some certain task, they will call to remind them. So there are other masquerades that could also play the enforcement. Or perhaps you want a big masquerade to come perform. So some of those enforcers can come into the stage and clear all the other. So something will give for that also to happen. So it is the enforcers that will come to clear, to signify that the big masquerade is Ijele. So when Flavor says it's Ijele, you can understand why. So it's the big masquerade.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Before we move to other parts, there are some figurines that I saw here that I would like you to talk to us about. So one of it is this one. Can we move over to this place, please? So what is this?
So this is a very spiritual figurine.
Okay.
So we call it Ikenga.
Okay.
So Ikenga embodies a lot of things. It embodies your personal God and the spirit of the ancestors
in one.
And Ikenga is not held in the left hand. It's held in the right hand, and that's why we call it Ikengaka. The right hand is the Ikengaka. And for the Igbo people, the right hand is synonymous for a lot of things. You can never give an Igbo person something with the left hand. It's a symbol of aggression, a symbol of power, a symbol of worth. That's what your authority, that's what your right hand represents. So whenever you give an Igbo person something with the left hand, they feels insulted. They feels you disregard him. So for this Ikenga, this aggression and power is represented by these bulls.
Okay.
Right? So when they say you are bullish, you're showing aggression, you're showing power. And that is what the Igbo people, mean when they have the Ikenga. So it is owned by both men and women. When you've grown up to become, yes, I am now somebody, you should have your your Ikenga. And it's also a strength of movement. You know, what we discussed when we looked at the Obun Ikenga. You know, so when everyone is coming out, they have their own Ikenga. And you have Obi Ndi Ichie, where you usually keep your Ikenga. You know, yeah. So when I tell you about Igbo people and spirituality, it begins from self.
Yeah.
So you really do not need a lot of people to come and tell you how to lead your life, because by your own personal convictions, you already know. We have figurines representing a whole lot of things, you know, for us as Igbo people. So it's important, you know, knowing this thing, knowing that, you know, the ethos, the values, you know, for every Igbo person, there are 3 particular values. It's Uche, Uchu, na Egwu Chukwu. So Uche is intellect, Uchu is industry, and Egwu Chukwu is spirituality.
Wow.
So spirituality is a very core value for Ndi Igbo, and we express it through dynamic means, whether it is in music, whether it is in the things that we keep and hold dear to ourselves, or through every other aspect, even in our dealings with our fellow humans. You know, you are reminded constantly, you know, and remember that also Igbo Bike, you know, so there are so many ethos as Igbo people that we are supposed to, you know, and abide by.
And imbibe at all times.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, definitely.
Okay. Like I said you earlier, we are at the exhibition hall. So moving away from this place, you'll be taking me to the other part of the gallery where they have things displayed. And of course, these things trace back to our roots as Ndi Igbo. So, Mr. Director, can you please lead the way while I follow you?
So this is one of our permanent exhibitions. Okay. It is permanent because it's a significant part of our history as Igbo people. So this exhibition is titled Ozemena. Ozemena in the sense that it will to help us to deeply reflect on the reasons why the war happened, the cost of the war, the legacies and the lessons to be learned from the war. Okay. You know, so it will guide us, you know, to prevent another occurrence of this. And
so is it possible for you to take us through?
Definitely. We can just go through. You know, it basically dealt with the beginning of Nigeria, you know, 1914, when we had the amalgamation. Yeah, and when we had our independence in 1960, and by 1963, when we became a republic, the country was divided into 4 core parts: the northern region, the western region, Midwest, and eastern region. So this was how the country operated up until the war by 6th of July, 1967. Yeah, so you could look at the crest of, you know, the coat of arms for the Biafran. So this is the coat of arms. So this was the original address presented by Odumegwu Ojukwu at the Eastern Consultative Forum. You know, yeah. So this is the original copy. So,
sorry to add. At the time of the meeting of this consultative assembly, has the war begun at that point?
No.
Okay, the war
has not begun in this.
Okay, at this place, the
so
war hasn't begun.
This consultative forum happened because of the pogroms happening in the north and the federal military government's lack of response, right, to what was happening in the country. You know, so that is why the Eastern Consultative Forum, made up of eminent people within the region, came together to fashion a way forward for the region, because we are losing people in droves. So the region was losing their own who are resided or resident in other parts of the country.
And now this is the original copy read by Ojukwu. As of what year was that? 1966. Okay, interesting. So this center is actually doing very well in documenting things of the past. Interesting. Okay.
Definitely. Okay. You know, yeah. So you could look at, and eventually the war broke out. I know a lot of people knows a lot of things about the war. But one fascinating thing for me during the war was that, you know, while the war was happening, the Biafrans were able to mint their own money.
Yeah,
right.
I heard that.
Yeah, this was Biafra's national anthem, and this is the refinery. You know, remember that Bonny Island was the major exit route for our petroleum products, and you know, when that place was gotten control of by the federal military government, the Biafrans now designed this, you know, to refine oil. You could look at the money I talked to you about. Okay. You know, so these are the currencies,
the notes.
So you could see the 5 Biafran pounds, 10 Biafran pounds. You know.
And these were minted during the war?
Yes, they were minted during the war. You know, this
Talk about Igbo excellence.
yeah, yeah, you can imagine that. And you know, another good thing is the research and production unit.
Okay.
We call them RAP. You know, so that the RAP was, you know, effective, instrumental in developing most of these weapons that you're seeing. And it pains me because we've not deeply reflected the legacies, the lessons to be learned from the war. Nigeria could have been a big producer, you know, of weapons and other artillery, you know, other arsenals that can be used to combat. Look at the raging war we have in the Northeast. So there are a whole lot of things to see. A whole lot of things to see. After the second coup, a whole lot of military senior officers from the Eastern region were actually killed. And remember after the first coup that when Major General Johnson Aguiyi came into power, he arrested most of those coup plotters, you know, who were instrumental in the first time coup. So when the war broke out, Biafrans never had a lot of people who could execute the war, and that gave rise to the militia. So people who were conscripted into the army without, you know, maybe 1 day, 2 days training. So this is the identification. So when you see anyone wearing this uniform, you know that this person did not really have enough military training. Is a member of the militia. You know, so yeah. And I think it's a unique part of the war story as well. This is the Biafran flag. You know, so yeah. You know, so there are a lot of things to talk about. You know, from this dimension, you could look at the international help. You know, who made it possible for help to come to Biafra. You know, this guy, Lloyd Morrison, is a New York Times journalist. He was responsible for the pictures that came out of Biafra land. He was the one that enabled the world to know that there is a genocide happening in this part of the country. And because of his efforts, a lot of aid started coming into the, you know, so there are a lot of people like that. You had Bruce Merrock, who set himself ablaze. You had people like Jim Hendricks and the girlfriend, John Baez. You know, we have someone like John Lennon, a member of the Beatles, who took back his MBE award to the Queen of Britain, you know, for supporting the war efforts happening in Nigeria. So there are a lot of stories to be told, and you know, this aspect is actually dedicated to that. For 1968, the major thing there is the invasion of Onitsha. You know, yeah. So Enugu fell after Nsukka. This aspect is dedicated to the involvement of women and children. This is the win the war effort. You could see the children contributing food, women assisting with cooking. Many people did not know that women were actually soldiers during the war. So yeah, this aspect was dedicated to that part of our story. Yeah, you know,
I think these are the real heroes, the real feminists. That's my own opinion.
Yeah, so this aspect is dedicated to the Asaba massacre of October 1967. If you look at this this side, you could look at part of the humanitarian efforts, you know, that came in, where you could look at organizations like the International Red Cross, Joint Christian Aid, among other people who, without their efforts, the number of casualties would have been very huge. In the war, you could find out how important something like stockfish is, because it was a life-saving food. It's not just the stockfish that you know, because this particular stockfish is embellished with salt, because salt was a very scarce commodity during the war. So for you to even see salt is a huge thing, right? So this particular stockfish is embellished with salt, so it adds all the missing nutrients in your food once you have it. Yeah. So the other part of the war, part of the exhibition tells the story of what the famine, the hunger, is a whole lot of depressing situations that one do not want to see. So this is one of the biggest women during the war. I call her the biggest woman because what she has is actually what is scarce.
Yeah.
Rat was a big thing. It was a huge source of protein.
And it's like a tiny rat, not even a big rat.
It's even only the big people that can afford it. Wow. And look at the salt. So she's a huge market woman at that point, because what she has is in scarce commodity. Proteins were a big thing at that point, right? So the other part of the exhibition is the end part of the war. By 14 January, the peace accord was signed.
I feel somehow right now. I feel enlightened and I feel sober as well. Like,
Yeah.
I feel sober. That is the truth. It's giving me a lot of things to think about and how do we move forward.
Yeah.
Especially with the recent things happening in the eastern part of Nigeria. Do we really want to risk it all for this? And if we want to, how prepared are we? Because during this war, we weren't prepared.
Definitely.
We weren't prepared and we lost a lot of things, we lost a lot of people and all that. So, is there another thing you want to show us?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I wanted to say that without the donation of people, this center will not be up.
Okay.
So nobody owns this center. Okay. So this center was actually set up by people who love their Igbo-ness, people who are interested in Igbo stories. Okay. You know, they set it up, and we've been thriving because of the donations that we receive. And we're calling for people to help. There's a whole lot of work to be done, but we haven't scratched the surface yet because we are limited by funding, right? Resources as well. You know, there are a lot of things that we need to have. There are some of our SBs that are not in this center at the moment because of want of space. And there are so many exhibitions that we may need to carry. There are so many documentaries that we need to do, but we are limited by funding. So we call on well-spirited individuals, philanthropists, Igbo people in the diaspora, wherever you are. Please find it in your heart to support the Center for Memories. With your support, there are a lot of impact that we're going to record. You know, we thank people like, I don't know if you will allow me to thank people. Yeah, right. People like Fidelity Bank who are invested in our children's library. You know, that portal there is a Fidelity Bank that donated it to the center. So they saw the need for us to help raise the next generation of people who will value their identity and who will be proud of their Igbo-ness. And they said, you could have this portal, have it where children can gather at all times, you know, to come and learn about their history. And we're very grateful to them. And we call on other people who are interested in helping us, you know, realize our mandate. We are open to receiving whatever gift you have to give us. So thank you.
So I'll have to add to his because honestly, I am so much impressed with what is going on here. The history, the documentation, the stories, the exhibitions. And like he said, this does not belong to anybody. It belongs to us and it takes us to build it. So if you're interested in fostering the history, the story, the culture, the heritage of Ndi Igbo, please be sure to donate to this center so that they can do more. I know taking you around here, you might see things that, you feel like this is not proper or this should have been done this way. Yeah, these ideas, I think you all have them, but they are limited by funds and resources. So if you know any story, any resource, or any amount of money, you can send their way so that they can make this a world-class hub for all of our Igbo, everything Igbo. You are welcome. Please reach out to me or reach out to them. I'll drop their contact in the description box so that you can always reach out to them to donate and support the Igbo cause. Okay? So is there another thing you'd like to show me before I leave?
So the exhibition we have outside here is titled Untold Igbo. The contributions of Igbo people to Ali Igbo, to Nigeria and the world before 1970. So a lot of people come here and they say, I didn't see my father, I didn't see my great-grandfather. And most times we tell them that this is actually looking at a certain period, right? Yeah, so because if you continue to look at the contributions of Ndi Igbo, it is massive, you know? Yeah, you could look at the ones we have here from all out that we are not to Bukati, Washington, people that people never realized were actually Igbo or from Igbo descent. We partitioned it into different categories. We have the arts, we have leadership, where we have the first President General, Governor General of Nigeria, which is Nnamdi Azikiwe. You know, so we have, when it comes to leadership, we've had people who were sailed at the top. When it comes to literature and the arts, we still have people likes of Ben Nwangu, you know, Chino Achebe, you know. When it comes to music, Flora Nwapa as well, Cyprian Ekwensi. So when it comes to music, we have people like Osita Osadebe, Rest Jim Lawson, you know, we have Mike Eja, Celestine Oku, obviously. And then the sports as well, we have the likes of Power Mike, Michael Obala, you know, yeah. And
we know him as Power Mike.
Power Mike, very strong, you know.
Okay.
And then we have science and tech, where we have people like Fabian Udeku. And you can't miss education, where we have someone like, what they call him, the first vice chancellor, indigenous vice chancellor. He was the first vice chancellor of UI, Kenneth DK.
Wow.
You know, yeah. So Chike Dozie, what do you call him? Chico B, the mathematician. You know, so yeah, people who keeps breaking records. You know, so there are many more. You know, the list is not exhaustive. There are many more. So maybe in the nearest future, we can also look at after 1970. That one is going to be massive because I don't know who you're going to put and who you're going to remove. You know, so it's going to be massive because the Igbo people have continued and to show their excellence in different spheres of life, and it's something that needs to be recognized because the Ngwere say that once he comes down from the tree, if he doesn't praise him, he praises himself. So if no other person praises us, we have to praise, and that is why for me I feel we need to continuously tell our story because whoever tells the story defines the culture.
That is true. That is true. I agree with him. All right, guys. So thank you so much for the interesting talk, guys. I learned a lot. Initially, I had goosebumps when you were telling me about the spirituality, the more and everything. Like, I think I connected with my forefathers at that point. Then when you took me to the Biafran War and everything that happened, I felt sober. Like, I really reflected on a lot of things. Now, talking about the Igbo excellence and all of those things, I'm really inspired. Like, these people are the people I share the same bloodline with. And it's also giving me the go-ahead, sort of the push to do more, to aspire to do more. Because if these people could do it, certainly I can do it. Certainly you can do it. So you do not forget whom you are. Just like a certain brand of drink is doing something going back to the roots. Echefula your roots. Do not forget your name. Do not forget whom you are. Do not forget where you come from, because you come from a bloodline of people that can do it, regardless of your field. We've talked about people in the sports, science, education, politics, and everywhere. So wherever you find yourself as an Igbo person, be different, and by being different, I mean be excellent in what you do, because we have that excellent spirit in us. So thank you so much for the tour. And now, if you want to come to this place is located at number 2 August Street by Umoji, Independence Layout, Enugu. So, and entrance is free or paid?
Entrance is free.
So every day of the week?
Every day of the week, apart from Sundays.
Okay.
Except you're coming as a group, we can organize a group theme for you on Sunday, if you inform us on time.
Okay. But if you're coming as an individual, you are coming from Monday to Saturday.
9 to 5 p.m.
9 to 5 p.m. And the tour is free.
The tour is free.
You don't have to pay. All you need to is come here, learn about your forefathers, learn about your culture, learn about your heritage, learn about whom you are. For today, for yesterday, today and tomorrow. Makonyan. Tata, Nechi. Thank you so much, Mr. Hein, for the
pleasure is all mine.
Thank you so much. And remember to subscribe to my channel, like this video, share with your friends and your family, and please do not forget to donate to this center. We need your resources, we need your finances, we need your support to grow the Igbo and to keep the Igbo flag flying high. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in my next episode. Udo, bye-bye, and Kodi. Thank you so much.
That was massive. That was awesome. Thank you so much.